Listen, the kings of MMA have returned, and we're coming for your lunch money. This is your favorite host, Ari Weiss, alongside Big Rich Fulgoni, the new rising star co-host. We're back for another episode of our hit series, Excuse the Savvy, and this is round 8, and we couldn't be more amped. But before we start the show, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, Ari. Happy to be back. Just got back from Costa Rica, so if you see a little peeling skin on the nose, that's
the player
from,
got some sun.
Player definitely got some sun. Before we get into the MMA stuff, just really quickly, just want to say rest in peace to a good friend of ours, Jason Ferguson, Big Ferg. We had a memorial for him just before we left last week. So rest in peace, Big Ferg. You'll be forever in our hearts and our minds. And then we also have another buddy, Will, who's actually fighting through some health stuff down at Hoag Hospital. Close to us here in Costa Mesa. So just wishing him a speedy recovery, but excited to be here, baby. Let's get into this MMA stuff. We had a great fight card last night. Happy to be back on the pod with some analysis. Definitely was not a good night for your boy.
But these are the shows that we love the most, though, right? Because we're coming off the big cards, baby. Yep. Not like one of those lame Apex cards that gets Wally all twisted. But we're coming off a pretty amazing pay-per-view, right? So we're going to hit that. So episode breakdown. If it's your first time joining Excuse the Savvy, what are we going to deliver today? Recent card analysis, which we just talked about, UFC 316, which happened last night. Some MMA news. That's because this is just fucking pissing us off at this point, of Jones saying stuff, Aspinall saying stuff, Dana saying stuff. It's like I barely even want to talk about it to even give it more press, because I'm at this point, I'm over it, but it's a topic. Then specific divisional analysis, flyweight at 125. My least favorite division, but hey, there's some heat on it recently, and we still need to do our due diligence and analyze it correctly. And then we're just going to go 1 week. We're going to talk about next weekend. Buckley versus Usman in Atlanta. Pretty decent card. I wouldn't say it's a monumental card, but it's not bad. Okay, so before we start the show, let's just take a quick break from our sponsors. Okay, baby, and we are back. So we're going to go straight into the shame, as we like to say here. So UFC 316, Davlishvili versus O'Malley 2. Listen, it was a big fight. It's the bantamweight title of the world. We know Merab won the first one. And of course, we all thought probably the same thing would happen in the second one. We ended up being somewhat right. Although O'Malley did fight in that second round, I was losing my shit because he was defending the takedown. I thought he had a chance to maybe do it this time, and then boom, but we'll get into that. I want to spoil everything already, even though, of course, the MMA world knows that Merab handled business. But overall, it was a pretty stacked, exciting card, straight live from Newark, New Jersey. Although I'm pissed about that, the crowd booing the fucking Patchy Mix fight. Like, what the fuck? That was a great fight. They're throwing, and the whole crowd's booing because Mix is not throwing enough or something. What the fuck was that?
I don't know. He's a hometown favorite, and I think, maybe they were expecting him to take the fight to the ground and not do so much exchange on the feet. Funny enough, that actually ended up kind of being like going back to the Bilal Jack Della. It was kind of role reversal with me being frustrated. I'm like, man, this guy's not taking him down. He's especially once he got into the second round. You know what I mean? I was he tried one sloppy takedown beginning of the third round, and everybody's sweaty and slippery at that point. It was a little bit too late. But yeah, man, that was frustrating to watch. I think maybe hometown lights and then UFC debut all coinciding at the same time. He just seemed off. He seemed very one-dimensional, and yeah, it was a weird night for him.
All right, well, we'll come back to that. Just really quickly, a couple small prelim call-outs. I got to say, my boy Gustafsson, I don't know if you noticed this he was calling himself the Viking. He came in and he just mauled Chaos Williams, who is no joke. That guy's no slouch. We've seen him beat good guys. So, Andreas Gustafsson, someone to watch out all of a sudden at 170. I love when these new guys, I think this is his UFC debut. He came in, amazing performance. So, let's look out for him at 170, which I think is the world's number 2 best division now. And then let's just quickly talk about the Spivak, Waldo, Cortez, Acosta. It looked like Spivak definitely did more, and he got round 1. Round 2 was close because Spivak faded a little bit and Acosta started. I think Acosta deserved round 2 because he peppered him a little bit more, but it wasn't like anything very decisive. And then round 3 was very close, but Spivak did get the big kind of like takedown near the end. I thought maybe he had done more, and then he did lose a unanimous decision. It was close enough to where I wasn't super pissed, but I thought maybe Spivak had done more. However, I will throw it in your face, Richie, before you answer this, is your whole bullshit of the significant strike nonsense. And that's all Cortez Acosta did, was pepper him a little bit more with some nonsense stuff that really wasn't significant. And then he got the decision. How do you feel about this?
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree with what you just said. I thought round 1 and round 3 go to Spivak. I thought that was pretty clear. The whole significant strikes pain point, definitely that was the case if you look at the punch stats. But I feel like the way Spivak covers up a lot, right? He does a lot of this, and so he's taking a lot of these punches on the gloves. I think that he's probably giving Costa credit for punches that didn't land clean, and that's maybe what swayed the judges. But watching it unfold live, I just didn't get that feeling. It didn't seem like he was landing clean. It looked visually like Spivak was landing, the better punches. He had the control in round 1, and round 3 he had the takedown. So I thought that was for sure going to be the clear separation in the fight. I was shocked to see it go the other way. It wasn't a complete travesty, but from my eyes, that was definitely a win for Spivak.
And I think the problem now is like, I believe Spivak was number 7 in the world. It's like, a bad decision. Now Waldo Cortez Acosta is number 7 in the world all of a sudden. And, it'll just always show up as a loss in the history books. No one will know that, he got robbed or it was that close, right? So I do want to call, of course, Azamat was very impressive. He ran right through this guy. It was supposed to be Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker got hurt, so this guy stepped in on short notice. Azamat,
you actually mentioned him real quick. I'll jump in. Like, he's definitely got the boogeyman of the division, right? I mean, you watch him, it kind of reminds you of that old Triple G where no one wanted to fight him, in the boxing world. This guy's dangerous as hell. He's got crazy heavy hands. He finishes fights quickly. He's undefeated. I mean, I don't know why this guy isn't getting better fights, and that's what he called out for after in the press conference. And he's deserving of that. So hopefully Dana can get him some better matchups going forward and give him a chance to actually climb the rankings and get up into title contention.
Yeah, well, he is number 12 now, and he's undefeated. Yeah. So let's see who he gets next. And then really quickly, a call out for, this was a good fight, a back and forth. Bruno Silva, Josh Van. It was 14 versus 12 in the world. Van just keeps impressing, baby. He's got unbelievable hands, and he gets the stoppage late in the 3rd round. And now he's going to be the number 12 guy. And this is actually going to play nicely into our flyweight discussion later. But this guy, very impressive. You like this Josh Van, Richie boy?
Yeah, I definitely do. I'll save most of my analysis for when we get into flyweight, but yeah, man, I mean, you just kind of nailed it. The hands were great. His speed and timing was just what stood out to me. I mean, just those two things give him a massive clear advantage over a very game Silva, right?
Yeah,
who's got power when he does land clean. So the fact that he was able to beat him with the speed and timing, very impressive, and he's definitely going to be jumping up those rankings.
And I remember I talked about him before a couple fights ago, and I was like, yeah, watch out for this guy. He was just entering the top 15, and I was like, I don't know if he's a champ, but I'm like, damn, I mean, I don't know if he can hang with the top 5 guys already, but fuck, he's ready for a big fight. He's going to be number 12 in the world, and yes, we'll analyze this later, but hey, I'm excited because now you're going to get an 8, a 7, a 6 maybe, who has the balls, who's maybe sliding a little bit to take on the up-and-comer. Okay. Enough with the prelims, baby. Let's get to the main card, what everybody is talking about. Oh, and what a call from Wally on this. What a fucking call. I'll set the stage here, Richie. And I've been bashing Holland in the press. We all know this. Wally's been pissed about the Kevin Holland back and forth from middleweight to welterweight. This is going to be a big theme today. Kevin, he had gone on the Believe You Me podcast with Felder and Bisping, which is Wally's favorite podcast behind MMA Savvy, of course. Right?
Rightfully so.
And yes. Holland went on there, and Felder did say, hey, man, listen, we love you. Stay at 170. That's where you're going to make noise. I've been ranting and raving and saying the same thing once he squeaked that win against Gunnar Nelson. He's got the frame to deal with the welterweights because it feels like the middleweights are too big. They can wrestle him too easily. So he needed to keep working on his wrestling, make sure he can make the 170. He's a big, tall guy at 170. He's a major problem because he's like, what, 6'2", 6'3"?
6'3".
Yeah, fighting these shorter guys, and he's got the crazy reach. Now, Luque did go for a takedown early, but when he had single leg, Holland really just socked him up with those punches. And then Luque was like, oh shit, maybe I can't try that again. But that was dumb. He should have kept trying. He should have pushed forward for more takedowns instead of a kickbox war with Holland, because that's the one way Holland will probably win every time, except against that Wonder Boy fight. So Holland then is able to defend the takedown. He looks amazing. He starts getting crazy punches. Luque looks worse and worse as it goes along into round 2. And then he gets that unbelievable submission. Now, the funny thing is we always talk about Kevin Holland. He does have good jiu-jitsu, but you never really get to see it that much because he's usually, if he's being wrestled, he's screwed, right? And normally you know him for the big hands. But this time he got that crazy Darce choke, and I didn't realize he had such a good Darce choke, and it was sort of like from a weird angle, and boom, he ends up submitting the Brazilian black belt, Luque, and shocks everybody. And now he's a real problem because I believe Luque was 14 in the world. Holland's now back into the top 15 of welterweight. And at the end, and I'll let you go here, Rich, at the end, he pleased me and listened to Wally and said, hey, I'm a professional now. I'm staying at 170. That's where I can make noise. And I believe that was my exact soundbite. He's listening to me, baby. What do you say to this?
Yeah, man, I got to give you, credit where credit's due, right? You've been calling this out and you did nail it. It was kind of like a bizarro Stranger Things upside down world scenario for me last night. Here I am not taking Holland, who I've taken in the past. I like his style. He just seems to be kind of an every other fight performer. And to your point, he's been bouncing up and down between the divisions and not really settled in somewhere. So you don't really know how does he really stack up. I'm glad I think you're right. I think 170 is the place for him. Sadly, I picked Luque in this fight. I thought he'd had some time off. I thought he'd maybe reset himself a little bit. Just did not look great last night. Looked a little sloppy in his defense. He got touched, like you said, it went for that single leg and he took a lot of punches to the face. Yeah. But it was really that big elbow that opened up that massive hematome behind his ear. That might have shook him a little bit. Just those strikes that come from Holland from distance, from weird angles. He's a hard guy to defend. Sadly, I think, this kind of confirmed that Luque's on the downswing, but I think you're right. I think Holland sets in here at 170, and I think it's the right place for him. And he seems to get better as the years go on, right? Even some of the fights he loses, he's not a guy who's getting dominated, very rarely. So, right. It's going to be exciting to see what he does and when he really settles in here. I think he was kind of just as a paycheck player, jumping around, taking any fight he could. He's a very active guy. He likes to fight 3-4 times a year. But to your point, overall, if he wants to have any kind of title aspirations, he's got to settle in here. So big win. Hats off. Weird that I didn't pick him for this fight. I should have. I was kind of hoping Luque had a last stand in him, but sadly it didn't go very well for him. And, he gave himself up pretty easily to that choke, it appeared.
What an amazing call from Wally to switch it. And here's the thing. If I didn't know that you and Nico were both taking Luque, maybe I wouldn't have danced with Holland. Like if you guys had been split or something like that. But yeah. I just thought, okay, here's my chance. And I just felt like being at welterweight, he's big. Luque's been slumping. Even though he got the couple wins here or there over the past couple of years, he's not the same killer that he was about 3 years ago.
And he fought
I just had the feeling.
Top talent. Let me just mention that. I mean, if you go look at his resume, those guys were all killers. So he's not losing to journeymen. He's everybody he's fought has been fighting for belts. So I don't want to come off disrespectful here. He's had an incredible career. It just does seem to that he's on the other side of the mountain.
So anyway, now the sky could be I don't know if he'll ever be a champ, but Holland, if he gets another 1 or 2 wins, he could get into the top 10. I mean, he's 14 in the world now. Give him a number 10 guy and then an 8 or 7 if he keeps winning, unless he runs into another really strong wrestler. But maybe since he keeps drilling wrestling, by the time he gets there, he's able to finally deal with it years later. Okay, let's move on. Okay, next fight. Very big, number 10 in the world, Bautista at bantamweight versus Patchy Mix. I talked about this last week. Of course, was the final Bellator champion before moving in the merger of PFL, but he hadn't lost. He had still been the bantamweight champ over there. He came over, but he was on short notice. I thought they rushed this because they needed a fill-in when your boy Vera left this fight. But man, I looked at it and I was like, I liked Patchy at first, so I didn't hate your pick. But then I fucking look back and I'm like, man, Bautista's won 7 straight. He beat Aldo and he even was able to grapple Aldo a little bit and use his strength. And I'm like, fuck, if he's got the grappling and the wrestling to deal with the mix, he's probably going to outstrike him. And holy fucking shit, I've never been more impressed with Bautista than last night. His striking was so sharp and almost was like, you know, certain fights are more brutal than others in this sport. Like, we're desensitized because we watch this shit day and night. And even that one, I was a little bit like, oh my God, you almost felt bad for Mix. You're like, dude, move your fucking head. Like, you're getting nailed. I mean, this was like rough after the first round. And then the crazy thing is Mix, as we were talking about, he never changed his game plan. He never went for takedown. He didn't try to switch stances. He didn't try to bounce around a little bit more head movement. He just basically, and they kept commentating, like Rogan and Cormier were like, bro, he's not, his feet look terrible. He's not moving his head. And he was just getting drilled. And yes, he was kind of in the fight, but his strikes were like these little looping pitter patter, like Diaz brother slap boxing. And I'm like, bro, you need to, like, either you need to strike with more force or you just needed to start grappling. And he never, that was his advantage. We all know he's a submission expert, and he never tried to change his game plan. Like, he was too shocked. Either he got hurt. Sometimes they're hurt and then we don't know, hey, why are you doing this? Or he was just so freaked out from the lights and the being in the UFC. And that's why I said it's the Bellator curse, bro, until I see one of these guys get a win with Pitbull recently and Patchy Mix and Chandler dive bombing recently. Yep. It's like, dude, until I see a Bellator guy winning, and he was even the favorite here. Venom Page, kind of, but he's like, what is he really fucking doing? He dances around and he throws 2 punches, but it's like he barely fucking does anything. Yeah. But going back, so I'll let you take over here. Going back to Bautista, now this was, to me, this guy is a major problem at bantamweight. He's 10 in the world. Talk about someone else who's going to get a 5, a 4 guy. He's going to be maybe a problem. I don't know if he's already, I can take on a Marab, but if his wrestling's that good and if his striking is that good, maybe he's a guy to one day deal with the Marab. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a little hyped up on this win. What do you say to this, Richie?
I don't know. I mean, we kind of went over in the text a little bit.
Yeah.
You're very hyped on it. I don't share the same enthusiasm. He looked great last night, but I thought his opponent looked terrible. I thought he's very fast. He's very athletic. But to your point, and to the commentary during the fight, Mix was literally standing there head still on a line the entire time, completely flat-footed. It was very strange. He looked incredibly one-dimensional. To your point on his striking, he does some of that pitter-pat stuff. I think it was a lot more of him knocking the hands away and sort of a defensive, kind of reflexive thing. But the few times he did try to unleash some real offense, it was those knees, and he was just slightly off, a little late, not landing them cleanly. And then he never had a chance to get a transition to the ground, nor did he try to really level change or set it up, which was just all very confusing. I'm going to chalk it off, hopefully, to just, the bright lights of joining the UFC and being close to home and just a bad performance. So I think that's why I'm not as enthused on Bautista. I really actually, like you mentioned earlier, I really wanted to see him against Cheeto. Cheeto's got the striking. He's got the distance. He doesn't have speed. That's where Cheeto lacks. And I love him, big Cheeto fan, but he doesn't have the speed when he gets with some of these elite strikers. So Bautista probably would have been a little bit faster, but Cheeto can take one to throw one. So I felt like he would have been able to give some damage coming back, and been a better of a matchup, maybe stylistically. Sadly, Cheeto, was not ready. It was an undisclosed injury. We don't know what's going on there. So it really does leave kind of a question mark where some of this movement in these rankings here. But all hats off to Bautista. Like you said, seven fights in a row.
Now
he was ready for it.
Damn.
He even took that foot and had a little cut by the eye. Didn't seem to phase him too much. So yeah, big win, a bit of a dud of a debut for Mix, but I'm not going to count him out yet. It just, sometimes when you watch a fight, something doesn't look right. Like, I don't know. Yeah. So I make parallels to boxing a lot because I'm a big boxing fan too. But it was like when Joshua came out to fight Andy Ruiz Jr. in New York City, his first time fighting outside of the UK. It just didn't look right coming into the ring. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It was sort of once Batista landed those first couple big punches, everything changed. It was like, oh God, when like near the end of the first round, a few of those rights landed. It almost looked like kind of like really hurt his nose. I was like, oh Jesus, like.
But then he just kept walking forward and
yeah, he just.
them.
I think he was all stunned and just freaked out and shocked, and it was like he never could like he should have at least just go in for singles, do something, like. It just level change, something. Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah, setting zero traps. There was nothing really. Didn't see. It was very strange.
I think you definitely look out for Batista in the future. Okay, Pyfer, Gastelum, very interesting fight. We've been waiting for this because, of course, it was supposed to be on the Mexico card a couple months ago. That then, of course, Pyfer got sick, which is why all that online stuff happened with Joey. I just listened to him on the Bisbing podcast. I do like the guy. I am a Pyfer fan. He's part of that whole Philly outfit with Sean Brady.
Yep.
He's a real problem. And then, and obviously Gastelum's a big name. They're both not ranked, but Pyfer getting this win, it would be, very impressive for his career, right? So here's the crazy thing with the fight. Pyfer comes in, has the unbelievable hands, gets 2 different knockdowns in round 1. Then you think, but it is Gastelum who has unbelievable chin. So Pyfer does this weird thing that he did against Hermansson. He throws too much early, and then he ends up kind of fading. So he gets round 1 decisively, right? Round 2 was very close. I think he did more. The announcers were trying to make it like, oh my God, maybe Gastelum's in this fight. I'm like, come on, guys. So I still think it was 2-0 going into third. And then Pyfer faded because he went too much for the big bombs. Although I do feel like he was more calm and collected, and he didn't really try to go for broke. But by the third round, he just kind of faded, and then Gastelum took over. And I think Gastelum definitely won that final round with bigger punches. And I went from texting you to being like, oh my God, Pyfer, future champ, let's go, baby. Wally likes to get on my bullshit. And then by the end of the fight, you're right. I'm like, oh, that can't keep up if he's going to want to win the big fights against the top 10 guys. So he needs to figure out how he transitions from round 2 to 3, especially once he starts getting into 5-round fights. What the fuck is he going to do?
Right.
So I love Pyfer here, but it was a little bit of an asterisk at the end. And I was almost scared with that decision, because if round 2 had gone to Gastelum, Pyfer loses this fight all of a sudden. And round 2 was very close. So yeah, he gets the unanimous, and maybe I was letting Cormier and Joe mess with my mind a little bit because they were trying to be like, I don't know who won this, and I was like, oh shit, fucking cooking dinner and looking over, and I was like, got all fucking nervous there. But either way, here's 2 final things, and I'll let you take over. Pyfer is definitely a future problem at middleweight if he can just curb his energy levels. And on fight IQ and smart game plans, he's a major problem. I don't know if he's a champ in the future, but he's there. And on the flip side, it's like, what is Gastelum even doing anymore? I know he's still only early 30s, but maybe he just has too many miles on him. It doesn't really look like he's in those first couple rounds. I'm like, why is this guy even fighting anymore? And then in the third round, he kind of exploded. And I'm like, oh, okay, he's still relevant, but I mean, he can't even get back into the top 15. So it's kind of like, is his career just done? And then when he goes down to welterweight, he can never fucking make the weight, if you remember. So it's like he can't just cut back down and waste Dana's time. So anyway, that's my thoughts here. What do you say here?
Yeah, so look, I have a few thoughts. Let me just, since you were just talking about Kelvin, I mean, he reminds me of like what I looked like at the beginning of the summer, and I'm trying to get ready for pool shape, and I'm like, I can't be out there with those love handles and that belly flopping around like that. He just never looks like he's quite in fight shape, which leads me to my point that he's just a fighter. I don't think he's an athlete in the same way that these guys are, right? And to your point, he needs to get knocked in the face sometimes to get engaged in the fights, right? We saw those big battles, like he had that great one with Adesanya back in the day.
Yeah,
and he loves to stand and trade, and once he gets going, and he starts doing this with his hands, and he kind of gets when he starts, getting his lane. And yeah, look, I think Pyfer was ever in danger of losing that fight? No, but I think you were kind of halfway there, right? Like, he didn't gas out like he did last time against Hermansson, and then he's just looking to hold on and ends up losing the fight. He was very measured with his strikes. He was definitely loading up on almost all of them, but he wasn't throwing in bunches. And maybe that was a little bit too much inside his set. Maybe he finishes Kelvin in that round. You know what I mean? When he has him on the ground a couple times. If it was the old the old Pyfer. Maybe he was being too careful. So that's something to be curious about. But regardless of that, he needs more in his arsenal, right? He needs a better game plan. It can't just be all the, like Joe was saying last night, looking for that one big punch. And then, and round 3 was just kind of embarrassing, to be quite honest. He completely took his foot off the gas and kind of was almost standing there confused at the end of the round. You know what I mean? Just waiting for it to finish, not thinking he was going to lose, but definitely was not trying to leave a finishing impression in round 3, you know, surely thinking he had the thing in the bag. So like when you were getting hyped up, I love the fact that you get hyped up like that. I know I can fall victim to it as well. Will he touch gold? Yet to be seen. He could definitely move up the ranks, and he's got a lot of room for improvement. This guy's 28 years old. He's with a good team, like you said, out of Philly. So, you know, I'm still heavy Pfeiffer. I got to give him many thanks for giving me him my one lone winning pick last night. That also fell with the rest of the savvy fellas. But yeah, that's my take.
Okay, yeah, I mean, listen, and I agree, and I think he still has a chance, but I'm left kind of, because here's the thing. We don't know what could have happened in round 2. So he shouldn't have been that comfortable to give away round 3, you know, and maybe he did just get tired and you just got bested. And it's like, it's easy for us to say, well, why didn't you throw more? Or maybe you're tired, you're hurt, right?
He didn't look gassed though. He wasn't breathing heavy. It just,
you're right.
Almost looked like he ran out of things to do from a game plan perspective. And I don't, who knows? Maybe he was. Maybe it could have been an adrenaline dump just from the fact that he was so close to finishing the fight.
Right.
Maybe he's questioning the fact, why didn't I finish the fight? You know what I mean? And and it just seemed to, something was a little off there in round 3 for sure.
All right, so let's move on to the big fights. Although I'm a big Pfeiffer guy, I think Gastelum was kind of like, maybe hang him up at this point, because you're not gonna, like, I don't really think, win big fights anymore. Okay.
Yeah.
Co-main. Pena versus Harrison, women's bantamweight title of the world. Of course, Harrison was a massive favorite, but maybe Richie Boy thought that Pena, with her grappling, maybe she could defend a little bit. And she does maybe have better hands. We saw her beat Nunes that one time and shock the world. She's always game, decent hands, great on the ground. And we did see Harrison kind of like against Pacheco sort of gas out. Maybe that's why you were thinking maybe Pena could do this. Harrison, this was only her 3rd fight in the UFC too, right? She hasn't had that same level of competition that Pena has had. But man, Kayla came in. This girl is a real beast, man. And it was just like, got her down in the first round. And then that sort of began the onslaught with some ground and pound. Pena was able to sort of last and, use her guard and get to round 2. And then holy shit, like she gets her down again. And then I was again looking away, and next thing you know, it was over with the Kimura. Like, it was quick, it was harsh. It was like, oh shit! I was like, I knew she was on top and she was getting ground and pound, but I like literally turned my head and boom, it was over. So very impressive, because if she adds tons of the submission game to her ground and pound and her ground control arsenal, she's going to be a major problem. And that was really the story of the fight. I don't even have, because Pena didn't really do anything to even paint any picture for her. I kind of think, I don't even know where Pena goes at this point, because she lost to Nunes. She came back, and I thought she lost the decision to Pennington and kind of got the lucky decision, and then now she loses here. Does she even fight anymore? I mean, I guess she's still relevant. She could hover in the top 5, maybe get a win, still be somewhat relevant. But the story is, where does Harrison go now? And then, of course, the big one is Nunes now is coming back. The Lioness is returning right after, but maybe she's been gone too long, because we always talk about inactivity is your worst friend in the UFC. And it's probably been, I would say, what is even 2 years now, a year and a half that she's been out. And, she probably hasn't been training as hard. Maybe she's a little older. Maybe she's not as sharp, and dealing with this beast among ladies is a real problem. And she might be strong enough to take Nunes down, even though Nunes did take Pena down the whole time, to show that she still has superior grappling compared to Pena. So maybe if she has better grappling compared to Pena, she can deal with Harrison, but I don't know. I do like that fight. It's the most compelling fight at women's bantamweight. So luckily we are going to get that. I don't know when, probably at some point before the year ends. But last thing I'll say is, man, Harrison, very impressive. I didn't think when she came over, she'd get to be champion that quickly. And I don't see anybody beating her except maybe Nunes. What do you say here?
Yeah, so I'll say a couple things. One, with obviously I, went out on a limb. I told you a lot of my picks were risky this week. I was just kind of, swinging for the fences and shooting from the hip a little bit with some wild picks. But I'll tell you the why behind it with Pena. That I wanted to kind of see something out of, like, is she really as scrappy and tough as she looked in that victory she got against Nunes? Something that was weird about that fight with Nunes coming back, she didn't seem quite ready. And when you go back and watch that replay, yeah, she pieced her up a few times and then she got her down. But that submission, the way she was able to lock it in so quickly, you know what I mean? Or kind of gave in just really quickly. Like, she just knew it was an off night for her in the office and she wasn't quite ready for whatever reason. But in the second fight, obviously it was pretty much a clinic by Amanda. So has me questioning Juliana's skills. But the reason I liked her against the matchup with Kayla is Juliana's she's got this big hunch about her, right? The way she throws. And so she keeps kind of low. And I thought she would be able to do a good job of checking those level changes and not getting taken down easily. Obviously, I just got to give a shout out to Mike Brown and, well, Kayla first and foremost, and what Mike Brown's been doing with her in camps. She just looked ready on so many levels, and she made it look pretty easy. She didn't take any damage along the way, really. I don't think I remember any clear strikes landing from Juliana. So very impressed. Unfortunately for the women's bantamweight, there's not a lot of excitement when it comes to contenders. So I think they really need Amanda to come back, right? And I think she had said prior she was going to come back either way. I think we're all happy that Kayla won the fight and that she's going to be going up, matched up against her. And she was adamant about getting her into the ring last night. Dana claims that was organic and that was not staged, and they had to let her get in there. But it was a good face off. I think you saw the Lioness still stands just slightly taller and still has that confidence about her.
Yeah, she was taller.
Yeah, and I think that she is, to your point, better at is a better grappler than Juliana. So I think I probably take Amanda in that fight, but I wouldn't be surprised if Harrison shocks the world and beats one of the female goats. And she just looked extremely confident. It seemed like she was on her path to her destiny last night, and she definitely executed it. So hats off. Just want to give her all the credit in the world. Great performance.
Yeah, exactly. And she's, besides Nunes, she's a real problem there. So I guess we'll see what happens. Okay, moving on. The main event, Merab versus O'Malley, bantamweight title of the world. I mentioned it earlier, obviously. There was a lot of talk of O'Malley being in better shape this time. He had gone through the surgery. He was more focused. He was off the socials. He stopped the weed. He was drilling wrestling day and night. And he did look like the best O'Malley that probably he could be. If we go into the fight, he did survive round one. He got taken down a little bit near the end, but he was able to, kind of get a couple punches in there, made Merab think a little bit. He did get the takedown. And then round two was like, holy shit, Sean might be able to do this if he can just last. Maybe Merab finally get tired, which of course never happens. But you were thinking maybe in your head, he never really got a takedown. He defended a couple takedowns in round two. And O'Malley actually a couple times was close to landing a decent shot. And I was like, oh God, could this happen? Could this be the case? And I was losing it, pacing around my house. And then all of a sudden the machine shows up in round three. And it was just like, oh my God, he finally was like, boom, he just bum rushes him. He gets the takedown. He picks him up. And you're like, oh, God dang it. And he pretty much holds him down for most of the round. He wears him out. O'Malley almost gets up multiple times. And then right when you think maybe he's going to at least get through the round, he comes in with an unbelievable, and what was it, like a modified Darce. And boom, over. Blink of an eye. And then any momentum that O'Malley had maybe built in round two, because I almost felt like this shift, like, holy shit, Sean could maybe do it if he just, the rounds keep going along and Merab can't get the takedowns. I thought maybe he'd snipe him. And then boom, over before you knew it. O'Malley sadly back to the drawing board. I even said to you that maybe he needs to fucking go to featherweight, but he's so skinny. I don't even know if he can bulk to featherweight, but he's so tall. Maybe he needs to try to bulk as he gets older and go up to featherweight, because I don't see him beating Merab. It's just he doesn't have the grappling. And it's sort of like, the bad style matchup for him, right? Stylistically, I don't know if he does it. And then Merab now, holy shit. He's unstoppable, 13 straight. He's going to be now one of the best bantamweights ever already. and I see maybe a Sandhagen matchup and maybe an Umar rematch down the line. How do you feel about this?
Yeah, I think you're right with those two. I think it seems like Corey gets the next shot. Man, disappointing, dude. I once again, this is me going out of my comfort zone and taking O'Malley, who I've never been a big O'Malley guy, right? You know me, I'm a big Cheeto guy, so that's just naturally I'm not going to be an O'Malley guy. But I thought he had done the right things. You know, whenever you hear about these injuries and things like that, they are massive, right? Like if you've ever been an athlete and you fight hurt or at 80%, it makes a massive difference. And in the fight game, the stakes are so high. You know, if it affects one part of the discipline, you could be at a real disadvantage. So I thought with the hip being healed, I thought with these, you know, getting off social media and quitting smoking weed apparently, and all these things, it seemed like it's like he was on track to really have focus on his craft and stuff the takedowns. And I agree with you, man. Once you saw O'Malley start to stuff some of those and get up quickly, you're like, okay, if he can do that, this could be a real problem. The machine never seems to fade, but at least maybe O'Malley can get more of his offense off, you know, and get some of his striking landing in the championship rounds. And then who knows what happens, right? But quickly, Merab, you know, reminded us why he is the machine. His cardio and his constant improvement, you know what I mean? Like his hands look better. His game plan was good. Like he actually went in there saying he wanted to finish O'Malley. Like this is something that he visualized, you know, and he did it. And it was sad to see from O'Malley's standpoint because, you know, even though I've never been a big fan personally, you know, he's good for the division. He brings eyes on, you know, to these fights. He's exciting to watch. But maybe he just doesn't have as many dimensions as he needs, right, to be championship caliber. I know he did get the belt. We questioned, you know, maybe the Jan fight and some of those fights along the way. It wasn't like a definitive run where he ran up and just took it. And Sterling, in my opinion, was not a super strong champion. You know, I was never a Sterling fan, and I'm not going to turn this into a bashing him because he's another one of the corniest champions that ever touched gold, you know, from a smack talk standpoint.
Yeah.
And I get so sick of him, by the way, if I could just mention this. Seeing him in every damn video shot embedded with Merab, it's like he's just like his personal assistant or something. I know he's training with him, but he doesn't have to be in every part of the video shot. It just drives me nuts. But yeah, Sean knocked him out pretty easily, you know, when he was coming in. So that was a good win, but he just doesn't have the dimensions to be up there maybe as a champion. Would it change if he went up in weight? I don't know. You know, it's tough. So he's definitely have to go back to the drawing board. I think he can still be a problem at the top of the division. He could touch gold again, or maybe he will, but he's definitely going to have to add some depth to his game overall. But Merab, hats off, man. I mean, this guy, you know, I don't want to say boring is not the right word, but his grappling and wrestling style, getting guys up against the cage, it's not something I enjoy personally. But the way he's been able to do it to so many of these guys in top contention or contenders along the way, and then now he looks to have one of the potential longest reigns at the top of the division. Very impressive, and just the way, like, we starting to think, okay, Sean can separate himself. He can get up, you know, and if he can do that, he can start setting up the striking. Just when you think that he does it, he gets up, and then Merab just jumps in within a split second. He's picked him up and he's got him on his shoulder. And that's the thing. It's just the speed, the quickness, the athleticism, the strength. It's just too much. He really is the machine. Hats off to him. He deserves all of it. And I am warming up to him, like you said, I think on the last episode. I'm kind of becoming a Merab guy.
Yeah.
He's just winning me over with that friendly personality.
Yes,
he was doing all
the
corny pre-fight stuff that Cejudo was doing and that Aljamain was doing, and that stuff was kind of like, you know, gagging me with a spoon type feeling for me. But as from a person, like way I watch him interact with the other fighters and you know, off behind the scenes type of stuff, he just seems like a great dude. I'm happy for him. I wish him nothing but future success.
I agree. I think I'm becoming a machine guy. And I will say, yes, stylistically, it's not your favorite, but he does it much more energetically and more entertaining than some of those other wrestlers that lay on you. He's always at least... Yes, he's grappling.
Mixes it up.
He mixes it up. His hands actually were pretty good last night too, because he nailed O'Malley a bunch of times, and that actually set up the takedowns. Right. So I feel like he's more exciting than some of those other grapplers that they have the bad name of just like getting the takedown and just laying on you and trying to get the decision.
I definitely didn't mean that. Just overall, I wasn't a fan of his style. You know, it wasn't like one of those ones that grabs me. But you're right. He's definitely not that boring. You know, crotch sniffing, keep up against the cage kind of fighter. He's definitely got a lot. He mixes it up a lot. You're right.
So now it's probably Corey next from what Dana was saying. And I like Corey's chances because Corey has much better grappling than O'Malley. Because he's actually been able to get a bunch of wrestling wins, as you probably remember, against Cheeto, because you probably hated that. And so if he has at least that level of wrestling, maybe he won't get taken down as easily. And then his striking maybe is not on the level of Ali, but it's very, very good. So at least he has a chance.
But he's very athletic too, I would say. Not that O'Malley's not, but he doesn't move around the ring the way that Corey does. He kind of stalks a little bit more. Those jumping, flying knees. It's just a little more explosive, a little more athletic, where Sean is a little bit more of a calculated striker. So I think that will bring a different dimension to your point. So yeah, I'm excited to see that fight.
Okay, so that was last night. We had to do deep analysis because it was such a big card. Okay, guys, so let's really quickly, before we move on, we got to total up the picks, baby. So going back to Blanchfield Barber a couple weeks ago, Wally went 3-1, Nico went 3-1, Rich went 2-2. Then last night, I go 5-0. Nico goes 3-2. Rich goes to a dismal 1-4. And that puts us, that puts us at, I'm 47-21 for the year now. Nico is 38-30. And now I have a 9-fight gap, which means I can just fucking pick anything I want now going forward, baby. And Rich, in his savvy career, is now 5-8 after that, so not bad, but he needs to get back to 500.
You're doing
baby.
poor math there. You're forgetting the 4-1 card when I came in. No, so you got to acknowledge that. We're not counting that card.
No, that doesn't count. Those are recorded
I think
picks,
that's shame.
baby.
I'm filing protests, savvy fan. So, Wally's running this thing like a tyrant. He thinks he's Dana.
That's clean. Yes. All right. So before we go into the next section here, let's do one more little commercial break. Okay. So the next thing here, we're just going to talk about MMA news. And since we don't have much bookings, let's just go and talk about the John Jones nonsense. Okay, so this article, of course, is like spun a little bit because it's saying Dana White claims John Jones was offered the deal and accepted the deal to fight Tom Aspinall, but I think his words were taken out of context a little bit. I don't believe that a deal has ever really been officially accepted, but maybe...
I think he was referring to a verbal agreement. He said it wasn't signed, but the fight was agreed to. So a little bit of semantics. I think he's working with what he's got, right? He knows John's an enigma. He compared him to Anderson Silva. They always do it their own way, take their time, and they agree when they're ready, which obviously John is doing and driving us all absolute fucking nuts with it.
Yeah, I'm so over it. So I think this is what we got to do. Aspinall moves on. Dana books Aspinall, gone for the title. Jones, they did just fucking strip him. I was even more annoyed. I saw Dana in the press conference, and they're like, yeah, did you see the stuff that Jones is saying and Aspinall saying? And Dana was almost acting like he wasn't even aware.
Bullshit.
I'm like, where is the urgency around this? It's like, well, he's been in Thailand, and he's supposed to come back and give me an update soon. It's fucking June, bro. This is just becoming, do you not care about booking Aspinall? What is even happening anymore?
The reality is he has no control. We're already at the point, I think Anik said it recently. When you look at the fight calendar, this fight can't be made until October, November, December anyway, right? So it's really frustrating. I don't know. I think that he's trying to see if he can salvage it. Apparently, he does get back this weekend, and they're going to be meeting with him on Tuesday. So if nothing comes out Tuesday, we got to either strip him or make the fight for the end of the year, even though it's bullshit to Aspinall that he has to wait 16 months or 18 months to get a fight, and this guy's active and healthy. It's incredibly ridiculous that John holds it up this long, but I think this is the last straw that Dana's grabbing at to maybe salvage this fight. And then you've got, John going off talking about making Ngannou fight and just throwing a middle finger up to him. The guy does it whatever he wants. So I wouldn't be surprised to see nothing come to fruition and them have to make a fight against Gane or something like that.
Yeah. It seemed like Jones and Aspinall both have said, well, we've made a decision, but the UFC is not letting us make an announcement. And I think the announcement is Jones is retiring, Gane Aspinall. And then Jones is just, but then at the same time, Jones is sending all this
already
nonsense.
said he's retired, though. He made that whole, tongue-in-cheek comment. So
exactly.
if that was agreed to, I think the fight was agreed to, in principle and verbally. They just haven't signed anything. So we'll see if John, this is right up his alley. He said he wanted 6 months for the fight. He shows up on Tuesday. He signs the fight. They fight in December. He gets what he wants, and really only screws Aspinall by playing all the head games and leaving him on the sideline, frustrated, and I think it's fucked up.
Yeah, I don't like it at all. I'm over this. At this point, it's just disrespectful. It's just like, dude, move on or not. It's like this whole, what last thing I'll say, and then let's move on to the divisional analysis. It's like Jones, I feel, has marred his career because every time you like him, and he's this big, unbelievable champion, and he's, good for the sport and blah, blah, blah. Then he'd get in trouble with the police, or he'd have the battery thing, or he'd have the PEDs. And then it was always something. You're just like, what are you doing? And then now this is like he's going out in this just weird, like annoying way of, I don't even know who Aspinall is. I'll just fight Stipe. And like, you're not going out in this great, yes, we all think you're the best of all time. But as far as how we respect your career.
Yeah.
I'm very confused now because it's right.
He's not doing himself any favors, right? No, I totally agree with you. I think he just getting knocked kind of further down from the pedestal, so to speak, with all of the antics. I was a big Jones guy early, and then I got really frustrated by his antics and then the steroid stuff. And I actually rooted for Cormier in those fights.
Of course.
I gave my hats off to Johnny. He was a killer. And you see what he came and did to Stipe, he made him wait a long time with a pec injury and all this BS with Francis and blah, blah, blah. So just the way he's been holding up the division, you nailed it earlier. It's just disrespectful. And I think, this MMA is built on respect, and it just is so, it's just unsettling. It's just kind of gross, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So I agree with you 100%. Let's move on. I actually don't even want to see him get to fight Tom at this point. I don't think he deserves the payday dragging this shit out like this, but he probably will if he wants it. But I think we will definitely find something out come Tuesday, Wednesday this week. If we don't, I'd be shocked. It can't drag on any longer.
Yeah, and the UFC allowing this at this point, yes, it's this mega fight that will be fight beyond any other fight maybe, and so of course they want to wait for it, but at this point it's like enough already. All right. Let's move on. This week is flyweight. Okay, flyweight division this week. And yes, I will say it's my least favorite division, but there's more pizzazz, there's more heat, there's more excitement on this division than maybe there has ever been in my eyes. So I'd like to do a little bit of a history. I won't do a super deep one like I've done before, but of course UFC added featherweight, they added bantamweight, and flyweight came later because even after the WEC merger, as you remember, there was no flyweight. It finally got created because there was enough flyweight contenders, and then the first big flyweight star, obvious, Demetrius Johnson, Mighty Mouse. And I had to look this up just to double check it. He reigned the division for 5 straight years, and he had 11 title defenses, which I believe is a record. Here's the funny thing, and I don't know about what you think. I was never really a Mighty Mouse guy. That's because I never, at that point, didn't really respect the flyweight division, even though I eventually loved featherweight and loved bantamweight. Flyweight just always seemed really small to me, and I'm like, But, over time, that's why I was never a huge Mighty Mouse guy, even though and I used to hate people saying, well, maybe he's the best pound for pound. I'm like, bro, he's fucking beating guys that are like 125. Enough of that. I know he reigned for really long. And then the weird thing was the Cejudo fight where he finally got dethroned. I don't know if he lost that fight. I remember watching it being like, well, he's won again. And then Cejudo got the very close decision. I don't know if Henry deserved it. I don't know if you disagree. And then the weirdest thing happens. Dana trades him, which never happens in the UFC. It's unprecedented.
He called his bluff. It was
the strangest thing for fucking Ben Askren to win championship. I almost kind of felt bad because he had to end his career over there instead of being able to continually maybe challenge Cejudo or Dillashaw when he came down. Now, I will say, then when he left, and then when Cejudo retired, because of course Henry then reigned for a while, he then retires, and then the division got exciting for me. When it was the Moreno-Figueiredo battles, then I'm like, oh, okay, I think Figgy turned the division around for me because he was like a bigger flyweight getting stoppages. I was like, damn, this guy's fucking no joke.
Right.
And then Moreno came in and challenged him, and they fought 4 times. And then, finally Pantoja now has come in, and that gets us to present day. But I still will say it's my least favorite division. However, really quickly before I do it, what were your feelings on that? Were you a Mighty Mouse guy, or did you feel the same thing?
No, I felt exactly. I mean, you basically said exactly how I feel. And I agree with you on the Cejudo fight. I don't think that was a clear victory.
Wow.
So yeah, I did not enjoy the division that much. But now, like with those fights, Figgy definitely changed it, right? And
Yes.
Moreno, they're scrappy. They just, even though there's not as many knockouts, they're still just putting hands on each other and just really standing and banging. And then you got the likes of Kaikar France, who had a real banger with Moreno too. And just kind of turned that fight kind of turned on a dime. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I'm excited about the division more than I ever was. It's definitely not my favorite division. But all respect to these guys. There's a lot of movement in the division potentially, and with Cop coming up and stuff. So I'm excited for it right now. It's definitely not my top division or one of my top several divisions, but I enjoy it now where I didn't used to care about it really whatsoever. And I agree with you about Mighty Mouse. It was hard to, I mean, so many defenses, but to put him pound for pound was so hard to do.
I hated that. That would piss me off. I was like, enough. Okay, so let me set the stage and then I'll let you go. So, because there's actually, here's the one thing I will say is everything's fucking booked. I looked this up. I have it all dialed. Pantoja booked against Cara France coming up for the flyweight title, okay? Cara France coming off that big win. I do like the fight. I think he has a chance. I like it. Royval, #1 in the world. He's booked against Cop, that surging superstar who could be a future champ. 1 versus 6. They're also booked on the same night, I believe, which is interesting. Moreno's the one sitting there, but he came off those 2 back-to-back really clutch victories. He's sitting there because you need sort of that backup, if you will, right? Because Moreno's already fought Pantoja and lost to him 3 different times, which was mind-boggling. Albazi is booked against Tyra. I like that fight because Albazi lost to Moreno, and Tyra was on that unbelievable surge until he finally got derailed by Royval.
Right.
Perez just got booked against Erzeg, and Erzeg has kind of fallen from grace after almost beating Pantoja, and now he's lost 3 straight. He really needs that, but Perez is no joke. He's a beast wrestler for the division, so that's interesting. Tagir Olanbekov, he's also booked outside of the top 15. And then the final one is Elliott. Elliott is booked against Asakura, who came in and also fought Pantoja for the belt, and now he's number 15. So a lot of this division, at least there's movement, at least there's booking. Nico would have a field day because finally it's a division that's actually booked. And then the final thing I'll say is also Van just fought Silva last night, so Van will go to number 12. Now, I like maybe Van, since Almabayev is sitting there, maybe you give Van Almabayev, who's the number 8. I like that jumping up there because everybody else now is booked besides Moreno. And I don't know who this Temirov guy is. It's the only guy I don't know. So overall, even though it is my least favorite division, at least there's action, at least there's bookings. And yes, over the last couple years, because we're big time UFC analysts, I've been diving in more to the weight class. Anything else to add here? Do you like my analysis?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's just like you said, these fights are all booked, right? There's going to be a lot of movement. We're going to see where everybody shakes out. I do like that performance of Van last night. I think you bring up a good point. That would be a great opportunity for him to jump up the rankings with another victory. He just has really, really good timing and good speed. So I think that guy's definitely going to be a problem. It's been kind of sad to see Steve Erceg, kind of slip and fall the way he has, because he doesn't lose fights by a lot. He eats good punches. He throws good punches. He's never dominated, but he just can never get over the hump. So it's kind of unfortunate. I'm really excited about the Cop fight. I think that's a guy that could actually touch golds. Little less on the antics. You know what I'm talking about? Like, he gets kind of wild, does do a lot of showboating. And hey, I get it. Some people, it gets him in their bag, and if that's fine, if that's what he needs to do to win. But can he do that in a championship fight or in a fight that gets into a championship opportunity? So I'm excited to see him fight. But overall, man, I'm a big Kai Kara France fan. I mean, that he looked like he was going to potentially win that fight against Moreno, and then he ended up getting finished, getting caught, right? And that happens to everybody. But he's got that warrior Maui spirit, right?
Yes,
coming
like
from
him.
New Zealand. I love when he gets down. I'm really excited. I think he actually can win this fight. So I'm actually I'm going to, be picking him. I know we're ahead of our picks here, but I'm big Kai Kara. So I'm hoping to see gold wrapped around his waist and see him take that back to New Zealand for his people.
And that we'll see that in 20 days. International Fight Week, baby. Okay, so I know this is every fight fan's dream. No one else does the divisional analysis like Savvy. They only talk about the big fights. They don't go back and talk about the divisions, baby. Next time, we're going to go back through. We're going to start back at heavy and just see, okay, we won't do the same deep dive because we've gone through all the divisions, but we'll at least be like, okay, what's the state of heavy real quick?
And hopefully we have a decision on Jones Aspinall by then.
Fucking
God
hell.
willing.
Yes. So really quickly before the final segment, let's do one last break from our sponsors. Okay. And so we're going to end it with our world famous Savvy picks, baby. Usman, Buckley, next Saturday night in Atlanta. Now, when I did break the news on this, I did say, okay, I'm not as excited as I would have been a year ago, 2 years ago, when Usman was still maybe, when he just had that second loss to Edwards, which is still up for contention, baby. And also, Buckley's been rising. But since Usman, with the inactivity and with that Kamayev performance, I'm like, do I love this? But I still good movement in the number 2 most exciting division in the world. So, of course, we're going to like it. Okay. So I'm still pumped up, just maybe not as much as I would have been a couple years ago, but we're still going to take it, especially because Buckley has just been improving and impressing all of us more and more every fight. He wasn't that one-trick pony kick knockout guy anymore. He's a highly ranked guy. So and plus it's not in the Apex. It's going to be in Atlanta, so it's going to be exciting because there will have the fucking, redneck Georgia drunken crowd, right? So let's rip through these. Let's kind of go rapid fire here, Richie boy. We don't need so. I'll set the stage and then we'll list. Nico's not here today, but we'll list his pick. You give your pick. Okay, so the first one, number 15 in the world, Menafield, who came off that really close win just last time. He's kind of had a little bit of a slump, but he's still always game against this new superstar, Umar Sy. He's had 2 straight wins in the UFC. He is also, as you guys can all see, a major heavy minus 500 favorite. So as much as I would like to take Menafield, I just can't do it because he's so up and down. He almost lost that last fight. He's got great heavy hands, but he lets himself get hit a lot. He takes a lot of damage. Listen, I want to take a bunch of underdogs on this fucking card. I just don't think this is the fight to do it because if Vegas must know something, I don't. So I'm touching Sy. Nico is taking Menafield, though. That just came in via text message. What do you say, Richie boy?
I said a ballsy pick from Nico. Hopefully he's not taken out for my playbook from last week's fight card. But no, I'm going Sy, baby. I think he stays undefeated. He lands 60% of his strikes. He's got great hands. I'm picking Sy.
So that's going to be interesting because I think Menafield's going to be in it. I don't think he should be that much of an underdog. Okay, agreed. Second fight, Mansour Abdul Malik versus Cody Brundage. This is also a little tricky. Malik's come in. He's got knockouts in his first 2 UFC fights, but Brundage is always game. And remember, he beat Marquez in that last back and forth seesaw battle. Just so we can see the odds here. Here's the odds here. Abdul Malik is a minus 600. So it's like, damn, I can't believe he's that heavily favored. And again, I got to be smart and take Abdul Malik. I believe Nico is also taking Abdul Malik, correct, from his text?
Yep, I am as well. I got him. He's a KO artist, 88%, finishes. I know Brundage's game. He's a great grappler. I think he's going to give him a little issue there, but I think Malik comes out on top.
Okay, moving on. Garbrandt, ex-champion. We were talking about bantamweight a lot recently, right? But, he's kind of fallen on hard times. He came back after that layoff. He's kind of gone up and down. He did lose that last fight to Figgy, but, he was in it, and he's kind of gone up and down since his return. Barcelos, though, if you guys remember, the veteran, he did get that amazing win against Talbot last time and kind of shocked everybody because everybody thought Talbot was going to steamroll him. Now, Barcelos is, let's just double check this. So Barcelos is a minus 148 favorite. Garbrandt is a plus 124. Listen, I'm going to go Barcelos because I feel like he's maybe going to be able to do the same thing. If he can grapple Talbot, he probably can do the same thing against Garbrandt. I just don't trust Cody No Love anymore. And I haven't really ever liked him since he gloated against Cruz. I've never been a huge Cody No Love guy. So I'm taking Barcelos. Who do you take here, Richie boy?
Yeah, I'm also taking Barcelos. You know, he lost to Umar. You know, he lost to Kyler Phillips. A couple tough guys. I think he gets it done. I don't think it's a massive discrepancy. No Love, I've never been a huge fan of. I'm not going to disparage him now. Actually, in a weird way, I'm kind of rooting for him to get a late career victory here, but I'm picking Barcelos.
And Nico has Garbrandt. So Nico is taking Cody. At least one of us has the balls, the cojones to do it. Okay. Then we get to a very interesting fight. Shabazian versus my boy Petrosky. I always go for those American wrestlers. I think he's East Coast too. I'm biased to the East Coast American wrestlers, baby. I like Shabazian too, and he's really kind of like reset his career after that sort of fall from grace. Remember, he had all that buzz around him, and then he kind of had those bad losses, and it sort of like ruined his career. And he's 2-3 in his last 3 fights with 2 knockouts. So that's why he's a -205 favorite. Yeah. But I'm taking Petrosky because that's my boy. He's won 3 straight. I say he wrestles Shabazian and he does it for us. Nico taking Shabazian because he's always been a Shabazian guy. What do you say here, Richie?
I'm actually siding with you, Wally. I got Petrosky too. I just think he's kind of more well-rounded. He can win by submission. He can win by knockout. He's a good grappler. I think he's got more ways to win. Shabazian's more of a knockout artist. I think he's at 80+% of his wins come by KO. So I don't see him knocking Petrosky out. I think Petrosky just has more paths to victory here. So I'm taking him as well.
And then we get to the co-main, women's flyweight, which we've been talking a lot about. So as we all know, Rose was the women's strawweight champion. She moved up. I never got the fucking story on why she moved up. I've never liked it. She's never looked great at 125. Yes, she's got a couple hard-fought victories. She just doesn't seem big enough. And like, especially she was exposed when she fought Farrow. She also lost to Blanchfield. I'm kind of like, what are you even really doing anymore? Why don't you just cut back to Straw and have the fucking trilogy against Zhang Wei Li? That would be the bigger fight. I'm over this 125 nonsense with her, this experiment that doesn't really seem like it's working out. On the other side, number 11 in the world, Mavericks won 4 straight, great grappler. Rose is a -285. I'm really struggling with this in my mind. Nico is taking Maverick. He likes that underdog pick. I was about to take Maverick, and then I just said, fuck it. I'll roll with Rose one last time. But if she lets me down again, I'm never touching her again. So I reluctantly take Nama Yunus, even though as I'm saying it, I'm like, why? Because I'm getting fucking swayed by Vegas. But maybe she has one last fight in her. I'm taking
it's a tough call,
Rose. Man. What do you got?
Yeah, look, I actually just did the opposite of what you just did. I was taking Rose, and I kind of swayed myself into Maverick. As far as Rose being at this, I don't think it's an experiment. There has to be a reason she can't make that lower weight anymore. So I think this is just where she is. But yeah, I'm not loving it, but I'm taking Maverick in this fight.
Okay, and then the main event, Usman Buckley. Usman's number 5 in the world at welterweight. Buckley's number 7 in the world at welterweight. This is a very big fight, at least ranking wise. It's huge for Buckley because this could get him into the top 5. But does Usman say, old guard, no, I'm going to stand tall and get one last big win? But the inactivity and sort of the indecision of what to do with your career, even being very much in that second Edwards fight, I haven't loved it. You know, Wally gets really pissed about flopping weight classes. I never liked him going up to Kamayev, the 185. I didn't like it, even though he was in the fight.
Yeah, he wasn't terrible in that fight.
No. So if this had been 2 years ago, I'd be much more excited. I've gone back and forth about this because I really wanted to say I'm taking Usman and fucking get one last victory. Maybe he's able to wrestle Buckley. But the thing is, Buckley, he has got good grappling as well. So fucking hell, what's the odds here? Buckley
is
a -265. You know what? I'm taking Usman. One last dance because I have a 9-fight lead. Screw it. I can take it. And plus, since I stayed with Rose, who was the favorite, I'm just going to dance with Usman one last time and say maybe Buckley's coming up too far in class. I'm probably going to regret this decision. Nico has Buckley. What do you say, Rich? Bring us home.
I'm actually riding with you. I wish I wasn't, because this would be an opportunity for me to get a fight back. But I'm actually riding with Usman too. I'm hoping it's just a reminder of what caliber he was when he was at his best. But I'm with you. It's been 2 years even since the Chimaev fight. I was in Vegas for that in 23, and you know, he didn't look terrible, didn't look great. Obviously, it was a different weight class. But I'm just kind of thinking he's just such a master at the grappling and control that hopefully he can, you know, weather any kind of significant strikes and then do the damage like he usually does up against the cage or getting down to the ground. So we'll see. I probably could regret this greatly, but I'm rooting for Marty Fake Newsman in this one.
I can't believe that you sided with me, because I was hoping to do this fun thing against both you and Nico, because I just assumed you were taking Buckley. But screw it. Now we're aligned for once. All right, so that was our fight picks. Hopefully you guys like this analysis and all the world famous savvy fight picks. I'm being a little bit more loose this time because I got such a big insurmountable lead. So that was our show, Richie boy. How you feeling?
Feel good. Good to be back. I'm hoping to have a much better performance with these picks. I don't love them all, but I'm hoping Usman can come through. I think that'd be big for all of us. We'd like to see him, you know, end his career with a different trajectory than inactivity and coming off a loss in a different weight class. So let's see what happens.
Okay, well, glad to have you on. This was fun as always. And if you love these Excuse the Savvy longer episodes, look out for them every 2 weeks, baby, and then my shorter episodes weekly. So with that, thank you for listening to the Wally Report, the world's hottest podcast. Please subscribe, follow, comment, like, share, and blast. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on YouTube. We're blasted hard on the talk, and we're heavy on the gram at the Wally Report. And now we're taking over YouTube as well, baby. YouTube is the new hottest place for TWR and MMA savvy content. That's at the Wally Report, for if you didn't hear it the first time. We've been posting amazing video clips from our episodes on our social channels, so please don't miss out. And please make sure to comment on Spotify, comment on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We love the comments and interactions with the fans. So with that, stay savvy, fight fans.